Hello and welcome to another video. This is the third episode of the story, where Naruto's journey through life after his battle at the Valley of the End reveals what it truly means to be strong in a world filled with shinobi, conspiracy, and the concepts of good and evil. Please support us by liking and subscribing. Let's just get started. Naruto stared at the box in what he now realized must have been his parents' room. With a shudder, he lifted the box gingerly off the bed and carried it to another bedroom, one that looked like someone his age had inhabited. I can't do anything about Sakura right now, he thought resignedly. I guess I'll look through the scrolls and see just what they're all about. Naruto opened the box, removing the 3 scrolls and laying them on the bed beside him. He picked up the first one. Opening it, he saw that it was a scroll for the Rasengan. Man, Naruto complained. Ero Sennin already taught me this technique. He was about to toss the scroll aside when he noticed its unusual heft. That's odd, doesn't it just explain the 3 steps? Naruto thought. He decided to give the scroll another chance. Pulling it open, he realized that it did indeed. It began by describing the 3 steps necessary to master the Rasengan. The key word, Naruto realized, was began. The scroll not only encompassed the 3 steps, but contained the Yondame's notes on how a certain step could be used outside of the Rasengan, and Naruto was delighted to see that one of them involved the first step's use in water. Naruto continued reading, then tried to form a one-handed Rasengan. He was shocked to see that it formed, compact and ready to destroy. All Naruto did was follow his father's advice, begin by spinning one strand of chakra at a time, then add more in other directions as closely as you could to the preceding strands. This was something Jiraiya had refused to teach him, saying that he could do the Rasengan just fine with his clones, and that one-handedness would come with practice. Naruto excitedly began reading more. The next part involved creating an Odama Rasengan, something Naruto had already thought of, so skipped to the next part. Naruto saw a drawing of a ninja forming a Rasengan, then throwing it. Naruto looked on in amazement. The technique involved sheer control and power, but apparently it could be done, though the Yondaime mentioned that only he had ever accomplished throwing a Rasengan. Naruto quickly memorized the technique and continued. He reached the end of the scroll and read, "Despite the power of the Rasengan, it is in fact an unfinished technique. The Rasengan takes form manipulation to the extreme, but it was intended to do the same with nature manipulation. I was unable to accomplish this, and so the Rasengan remains a half-completed technique." Naruto rolled up the scroll and placed it back in the box reverently. He then formed a Rasengan and began to try and convert his chakra to wind, just as he did with his jutsu. It was harder without seals, and Naruto had to let the swirling chakra dissipate. Naruto tried again a few more times unsuccessfully, then threw himself backwards onto the bed in frustration. He stared at the ceiling, muttering. Then, he had an idea. Sitting up, he held a new Rasengan in front of him. Satisfied, he let it dissipate, then concentrated. He tried to form wind chakra in his hand before spinning it about. After a few minutes, Naruto began to form a new Rasengan, and saw that it hummed with a white light, and contained blade-like eddies of wind, all swirling about it, a tiny ball of destruction. The Rasengan grew to normal size, then stopped, though Naruto felt as though it would burst any second. After holding it for a few minutes, Naruto let it dissipate with a sigh. He tried to form another one, and saw thrilled to see it come quicker. He let it dissipate once more, then tried it with demonic chakra. This was easier, though Naruto thought he heard the sound of a vacuum in the middle. He vaguely remembered using the demonic Rasengan, then figured it wasn't special enough to merit its own name. The wind won, though. I'll call it Futon Rasengan. Naruto said aloud happily, congratulating himself on the originality of the name. He desperately wanted to try throwing a Rasengan, but decided it wasn't worth the village's newfound respect for him. Instead, he reached for the next scroll in line. He pulled it open. He read, "A detailed account of the technique, Hiraition no Jutsu, Flying Thunder God." Naruto read on, and was greeted by a disclaimer. Warning: only those possessing the Uzumaki Kekkai Genkai will be able to use this jutsu. Naruto grinned, then reached for the next scroll, guessing what it contained. Opening it revealed the Sharingan, Dojutsu and Kekkai Genkai of the Uzumaki clan. Naruto paled and began reading. Naruto opened his eyes to sunlight streaming into the Uzumaki clan home. Groaning, he performed his morning rituals and returned to the box. He still had an hour before he had to meet Tenten for sword practice, so he got dressed quickly and strapped on his blade, which he named Makai, or Hell. He picked up the scroll on the Sharingan and reviewed it quickly, then went to the bathroom and looked in the mirror. Sharingan, he shouted, pushing chakra into his eyes. He watched as they changed to the metallic blue and silver pupil he had seen the night before with Hinata. Hinata-chan, Naruto thought, a warm feeling enveloping him. Sakura-chan, Naruto thought, as a feeling of dread overwhelmed him. He shook the feeling off and deactivated his Dojutsu. He resolved to do two things before attempting anything the scroll suggested: be able to activate it within a second of trying, just Neji, Hinata, and Sasuke could, and to be able to leave it on all day with no detriment to his chakra or physical stamina. Naruto began to practice, and by the time he left for the training field, he could activate it in 1 second, which he figured was good enough after just having activated it for the first time. Grinning at his reflection in the mirror, he formed the seal for Shunshin and poofed away. Tenten was tapping her foot impatiently when Naruto poofed into existence on the training field, Makai in hand. "Hi, Tenten. Sorry I'm dash." He was cut off by the weapon master leaping towards him, katana in hand. Without thinking, Naruto activated the Sharingan and similarly leapt forward. This surprised Tenten, so much that Naruto was able to parry the enraged weapon mistress' first strike perfectly, so that he could disengage and trip her feet out from underneath her. Unable to get over her shock and amazement, Tenten exclaimed, "Naruto, what the hell happened to your eyes?" In like a split second they became all blue and silvery. "Do you have a blood limit?" Naruto grinned, then extended a hand to his trainer, who accepted it and was pulled into the standing position. She graciously accepted her katana from Naruto, then assumed an "I'm waiting" pose. "It's my Sharingan," Naruto yelled happily. "I just found out about it last night. It's so cool looking, way meaner than the Sharingan." Tenten laughed. "Awesome. I'm really happy for you. However, it's time to learn the next form, Sorisu. This form is all about combating ninjutsu users. I've decided, by the way, to teach you only 4 forms, Shiho, you already know, Sorisu, which you're about to learn, and then 2 more, which you'll also learn today. They will be Makashi, which is good against Genjutsu, and Adaru, which is all about offense. You will then decide, at the end of today, which form you will pursue to the exclusion of all others. Using other forms, if you don't dedicate your life to mastering all of them, will detract from your strength with the sword. Clear?" Naruto nodded. "Crystal. Let's get it started. I don't want to interfere with my team's training." Tenten nodded, and began to show Naruto Sorisu, Makashi, and Adaru. As Naruto watched, he kept his Sharingan active. He noticed that he could analyze the strengths and weaknesses of every form, as well as possible variations and combinations. He was shocked to see that this happened instantly. He chalked it up to the ability of the Sharingan to perceive and analyze any jutsu or kanji seal. However, the scroll mentioned nothing about the information being stored in his mind like the Sharingan. Naruto also realized that his vision was greatly enhanced, something the scroll said wouldn't happen for a few days. However, Naruto could see with the eyes of a bird of prey, not as far, but with excruciating detail to about 50 meters. Thanks, Kyubi. Naruto thought. It was the only reason he could find for his accelerated bloodline ability. As Tenten finished, she asked, "Well, which one did you like the best?" Naruto grinned. "If I had to choose, I would train in the Adara form." However, and with a whirl of motion he whipped Makai out of its sheath and flourished it, Settling into a stance as such, blade pointed directly away from Naruto, the bottom of the hilt almost touching his left shoulder, right hand leading and left hand supporting, so that his arms were holding the sword like a flute. Tenten gasped. That's a variation of the Adara form. It's so perfect. It combines its strengths with those of Sorisu. How did you do that? It took me months of training before I could create variations of the stances. Naruto grinned. Obviously you must have noticed that my eyes are not what they once were. Tenten almost ran over to Naruto and approached him brazenly, stepping right up so that their noses were inches apart. She stared into his Sharingan and gasped. Oh Naruto, they're beautiful. I mean damn, that's awesome. Tenten sputtered. When did this happen? Last night. Hinata-chan used her Byakugan to help me activate it. I've been studying about it since, and I can now analyze any jutsu, seal, and apparently kenjutsu. Maybe even taijutsu too. But the scroll didn't say anything about storing that knowledge like the Sharingan. Tenten shrugged. Blame the Kyubi, she said cheerfully. For once, your burden has paid off. Naruto laughed. Oh, it has before, believe me. Damn straight, brat. You'd be dead without me. This has been a recording, thought back Naruto. Fix your broken record, Kyubi. Naruto nodded. What should I call my new form? I mean, I plan on training exclusively in it. Shouldn't it have an awesome name? Tenten nodded. Call it the Shurin form. A blend of offense and unwavering defense. Yada. Naruto exulted. So come on, let's start training. As Sakura approached the training field where Naruto and Tenten were engaged in a vicious duel, she noticed that Hinata was already there, watching. As she did, Sakura also noticed that there was an unusual look of contentedness about her visage. She must really like Naruto, thought Sakura. I wonder what Naruto-kun feels. Oh well, guess I'll find out tonight, nay. She walked over to stand beside Hinata. Good morning, Hinata, Sakura said by way of greeting. Hinata laughed. Sakura, you must have slept in. It's noon. Sakura looked at the paler girl, puzzled. Way too cheerful, in that case, Naruto-kun's late. Oi. Naruto-kun. At the sound of Sakura's shout, Naruto stumbled. Ha! Victory is mine! Tenten yelled, seeing the opening. With a whoosh of air she brought her katana down towards Naruto's neck, where she stopped it, cool metal pressed against warm flesh. Kyuso, shouted Naruto. I was so close. Ha, retorted Tenten. Not even. I've got business to take care of for the next few mornings, so I'll meet you here on the last day before your mission. Train in your Shurin form for now, and then we'll see how you do in an all-out weapons match. Naruto gulped. Any weapon? Tenten grinned evilly. See ya later. And she poofed away. Naruto groaned and heaved himself off the ground. He wiped the sweat off his brow as he approached the two kunoichi. Hiya Sakura-chan, Hinata-chan. I was thinking that Naruto was interrupted by a burst of smoke as Hinata disappeared and was replaced by Rock Lee, who leapt at Naruto with a battle cry. Not even batting an eye, Naruto swiftly sidestepped and brought an open palm to Rock Lee's face, which he applied some force to. The result was that the rest of Lee's body continued where his head did not. Naruto then slammed the horizontal Lee down to the ground. And what, pray tell me, did you do with Hinata-chan? That wasn't a henge you just dropped, that was a replacement. Naruto growled. Lee only laughed. Ha! You have bested me again, Konoha's #1 surprising ninja. But I will have you yet. Hinata-chan was in on it from the beginning, she's over there, just beyond the undergrowth. She'll be dazed, but otherwise fine. Naruto nodded, then grinned. You will never catch me off guard, Lee. Never. The two of you wait here while I fetch Hinata-chan, then we'll start the training. Lee nodded and extended an arm to Naruto, who used it to propel him into a run towards where Lee had pointed. When Naruto came through the undergrowth, he was greeted by a smiling Hinata leaning against a tree in a small circular clearing. I knew you wouldn't fall for it, but I had to let Lee try. Hinata explained as Naruto approached, not sure on what he thought about the situation. Besides, Hinata said as she walked towards her new boyfriend, it was the perfect opportunity to get you alone with me for a few seconds. Wait, what? Naruto began, but was cut off by Hinata's lips pressing against his own. Damn fine way to be told to shut up, thought Naruto. After a few seconds, Naruto pulled away while extending a hand to stop Hinata from advancing if she tried. She did. Naruto-kun. Hinata-chan, Sakura-chan, and Lee still don't know. I have to tell Sakura tonight and Lee tomorrow, but I want to tell her, not to have her find out. It will hurt her less, I think. If we stay here too long, Sakura-chan will make the leap in logic. She's very smart. So let's just do our training, and I'll come by your house tonight after the date with Sakura-chan, okay? Hinata nodded, then pulled her gaze away from Naruto and realized that Naruto had led her right back to the training area. You were right, Lee, she was a bit dazed. Anyways, here's the plan for today. Sakura collapsed on her bed, moaning softly. She had been trained by the Hokage herself, and that was grueling indeed, but she was beginning to wonder just who was the greater taskmaster. Naruto, you oaf! She yelled to her ceiling. She turned on her side to look at the clock. 7:55. Kyoso. Naruto-kun will be here in 5 minutes. Sakura yelped as she launched herself at her closet, all fatigue vanishing. Naruto rang the doorbell with no small amount of apprehension. Damn, this is gonna be awkward as hell. He heard a muffled, coming, from inside, followed almost immediately by the door being opened. Out of the portal emerged Sakura, resplendent in a pale pink kimono which accentuated her hair and eyes beautifully. Hi Naruto-kun. So where are we going? Sakura said happily as she took his arm. Naruto smiled. Getting the night's reservations had been a pain. We'll be heading to a small place on the other side of this district. Come on. And he led her away. When Sakura realized where they were going, she stopped Naruto with her other hand. Oh Naruto-kun, you didn't. They had stopped in front of a small hut, but inside was one of the greatest chefs in the world. Sakura turned to Naruto, eyes shining. Naruto-kun, how did you know? She said as she hugged Naruto tightly. Naruto gulped at the sudden feeling that his body was sending him. I asked your mom what your favorite food was. She basically said take her to this place, so I snagged a reservation. Sakura pulled away, blushing. Thank you. Thank you so much. Come on, let's go in. She grabbed Naruto's arm and pulled him inside. The dinner passed for the most part in silence. Naruto made a few attempts at small talk to get a conversation going, as did Sakura, but both had their reservations. Sakura seemed tongue-tied for a change, and Naruto couldn't stop thinking about Hinata. After the meal, Naruto paid and took Sakura and sat her down on the same bench he had visited with Hinata the previous night. Before he could say anything, however, Sakura pulled him across the bench and kissed him soundly. Before Naruto could react, she pulled away and stared into his eyes, Sharingan silver shining. Sakura-chan, why did you kiss me? Naruto asked, afraid of her answer. Sakura smiled sadly. Because you love Hinata-chan. At least, you do, but you don't know it yet. She confessed to you last night, didn't she? Naruto nodded dumbly, fully aware that Sakura was in complete control of the situation. Sakura nodded at his answer. Well, I knew that I had no chance, so I kissed you for the first and last time. Maybe if I ever have kids I'll tell them how I kissed our esteemed Hokage, back when he was a stupid teenage guy, but for now, she trailed off sadly. Naruto smiled suddenly. You can never have too many good friends, Sakura-chan. Sakura nodded, but smiled in return. I don't know Naruto. A few years ago I was like your big sister, always telling you what to do and bonking you when you were stupid. Now, it's like a total role reversal. You're so wise and experienced and mature now, I kind of think of you like my big brother when we train. And I've never had any siblings. Naruto was struck at this point by the realization that he had all the family he would ever need here in Konoha. Jiraiya was like his father, even more so since Jiraiya trained Naruto's real father. Sakura could be his sister, and, you're right, Sakura-ni-chan. Naruto yelled happily. Alright, I have a sister. Sakura laughed and hugged him. The night is still young, but I'm really tired. Why don't you go visit Hinata? Naruto laughed. Sorry, I'll go easy on you guys tomorrow. Thanks, Sakura-ni-chan. Sakura smiled. Just don't stay up too late. She yelled as Naruto ran away. She was blown a raspberry in return. Baka, she said happily as she walked for home, trying to ignore the feeling of loneliness that threatened to envelope her. Naruto approached the Hyuga compound with more than a little apprehension. However confident he felt in dealing with any attack upon his person, he feared the prospect of being forced to fight a Hyuga, risking the wrath of his only Hyuga ally, Hinata's father Hayashi. However, those fears were banished when he spotted a light suddenly flicker on the second-floor window facing him. He watched as a slender form approached the curtains and pulled them apart, revealing Hinata. She smiled at Naruto, motioning him to come up. Naruto blushed. Banishing all perverted thoughts from his mind with a curse against a certain toad hermit, he leapt up to the window. Hiya, Hinata Choof. Naruto exclaimed as he slammed into the still-closed window. Hinata gasped and ran to the window, throwing it open. Hinata reached out and grabbed a fistful of Naruto's white shirt and yanked him in. This resulted in the blonde shinobi's weight forcing Hinata backwards, so that she landed on her back on her bed in an unceremonious lump, Naruto face down on top of her. When Naruto regained his senses, he immediately realized rather poignantly what position he was in. Meeting Hinata's eyes, he saw excitement replaced by insurmountable embarrassment. With a helpless chuckle he propped himself up, careful not to violate his girlfriend of one day. So how's that for a hello? Naruto laughed, trying to ease the tension. To his relief, Hinata laughed. Sorry about the window, Naruto-kun. And thanks to that, someone will be coming to check on me now. So, and Hinata leapt over and kissed Naruto fiercely. Shocked, the heir to the Uzumaki returned it until this time Hinata pulled away. We really need to have another date, Naruto-kun. But run. If anyone sees you, who knows what could happen. Naruto nodded and leapt back to the window. See you tomorrow, Hinata-chan. And he leapt away. Just as he did, Hayashi burst into the room. Hinata, is everything all right? I heard a pretty loud crash. Hinata smiled. It's nothing, Oda-san. I just knocked over my lamp, I must be getting tired. Hayashi smiled. Get some rest. Sometimes I think you and your team work too hard. Good night, Hinata. Hinata smiled, and whooshed a sigh of relief after her father left. Meanwhile, Naruto had already made it back to his room, intent on unraveling the powers of his new Sharingan. He practically ran to his room, ripping open the box and pulling out the Sharingan scroll. Eagerly, he picked up where he left off. The scroll described how sometimes the Sharingan would perform differently for every user, but the basic abilities were the same. Greatly enhanced vision, the ability to track and predict movement. However, when Naruto read further, there was one final ability. It read, above all the Sharingan's powers is its ability to identify, memorize, write, and activate kanji seals. This ability is what enabled the Uzumaki to become the strongest clan in Konoha, for once an Uzumaki sees a seal and analyzes it with the Sharingan, the knowledge of that seal is instantly stored in a special lobe in the brain created by the DNA also responsible for the Sharingan. These seals can then be scribed onto any material. The most noted inscription of a seal is the creation of Uzumaki Arashi's Hiraishin no Jutsu. With this ability, the Uzumaki have become known as the creators of dozens of seals. And the scroll went on, detailing the process by which seals were memorized, how they could be scribed. Suddenly, Naruto felt a presence in his mind, as if on cue. "You know, I think my presence here has granted you far more abilities than the scroll describes." "I agree," Naruto thought to Kyubi. "It seems as though you have enabled me to memorize not just kanji seals, but regular hand seals and other techniques, just like the Sharingan," finished Kyubi. "But I have no idea how far that ability goes with you. Nevertheless, I wonder what your kanji ability can do, now that I'm here." Naruto smiled as the Kyubi retreated into his eternal vigilance. Ever since his assimilation of the Kyubi's chakra, the Demon Lord had become much more docile. Even helpful at times. Like now, thought Naruto excitedly as he scanned the scroll, seeking an example of a kanji he could test. "Aha!" he shouted triumphantly. He found a kanji which, according to the scroll, would create an explosion. The seal could be modified to be set off by an enemy ninja, by the inscriber, or just to explode the minute it was written. "Unbelievable," muttered Naruto as he turned his Sharingan to the kanji. Immediately, Naruto realized that he had memorized all that the scroll had just read, just by looking at the seal. He ran over to the nearest window in his room, searching for a test target. He decided that the middle of the road would suffice. Naruto recalled the image of the kanji and held it in his mind. He tried to project it onto the street, and saw that a little seal had appeared. Satisfied, Naruto released the kanji in his mind. K-boom! Went the newly inscribed seal as it detonated, no longer confined by Naruto's eyes. The explosion wasn't too big, but it was loud. Naruto immediately ducked into his room and turned out the light. With delight he realized that he could see just as well. Naruto became aware of several chakra signatures emerging into his perception. Puzzled, he swung his head and almost jumped when he realized he was looking through his house and out onto the street where several residents of Konoha were looking curiously at the small crater Naruto had made. He watched as they shook their heads and walked away. Naruto swore he saw one mouth exploding tag. Naruto waited until he was sure they had resumed their slumber, then ran to the window and inscribed the seal again into the street, this time attempting to set it so that it would detonate on his command, not just when he wrote it. When he released the seal, he saw that it glowed once, then faded to black. Flushed with success, Naruto tried to touch the seal without activating it, and once again saw the seal in his mind. Remembering what Kyubi said, he examined the seal, trying to note any peculiarities. With a thought, he tried to push more chakra into the seal, something the scroll said couldn't be done. If one wanted to magnify the blast of the kanji, it had to be written a certain way. However, Naruto was able to store chakra in the seal successfully. "It'll blow up the block if I set it off by accident," Naruto thought frantically. "The opposite better work." So he tried to pull chakra from the seal. He noticed that his body was absorbing the chakra, assimilating it with his own system in a manner not unlike the Kyubi's. Naruto continued to absorb the chakra until there was none left. When that happened, the seal made a little poof of air and vanished. Naruto whooped. He thought about where he could possibly find out more seals to analyze, then remembered that his new home was supposed to be a clan house. He had already noticed a training room. Surely a clan known for its seals would have a library? It took Naruto a half hour, but he eventually entered a room with a 20-foot-high ceiling, containing bookshelves reaching that high, all packed with books. Naruto looked around, Sharingan settling on the biggest book, a thick red one with gold writing. Naruto ran over to it and read, "The Seals of the Uzumaki." Naruto took it and sat down on a chair, dazed. First, he discovered his love for Hinata-chan. During the same night, he activated his blood limit, and now, Kami-sama, this better not be some sort of joke, Naruto muttered, flipping open the book. It was written in a very peculiar manner. Every page contained nothing but a kanji seal, so that only an Uzumaki or a master of kanji lore would be able to comprehend anything. Naruto stared at the first seal, one of warning the inscriber of an intruder, and analyzed it quickly. The alarm seal. Naruto dubbed it, moving on to the next. When sunlight began streaming through the window, Naruto had just analyzed the last seal in the book. Having just acquired about 100 seals and a massive headache, Naruto felt complete, yet strangely in pain at the same time. He staggered off to the bathroom. Hinata, Sakura, and Lee met at the training ground, surprised to see that Naruto was sitting against a tree, sleeping, Makai sheathed and laying across his lap. One crystal blue eye opened at their approach, and all three of Naruto's teammates were amazed that immediately the eye turned all blue and silver, meaning Naruto activated the Sharingan that quickly. Okay, it's business as usual today, Naruto exclaimed as he ran towards his teammates. Otuto, why were you sleeping there? Sakura asked, causing Hinata and Lee to start at Sakura calling Naruto, brother. Hey well, I was kinda up late. Here, I'll show you what I was doing. And Naruto stepped away from his team and gazed out towards the training field. Suddenly, a huge explosion rocked the ground, forcing them to use chakra to stay on their feet. Naruto had used the Katon explosion, forcing extra chakra into the kanji he inscribed in midair, something he had never tried before. He turned to his teammates. Cool, huh? Hinata reacted first by leaning over and pecking Naruto on the cheek. The Sharingan? Naruto nodded. I know a little more than 100 kanji seals now, so I'll try to incorporate them into the training. So for now, the rest of the week passed as such. Every morning Naruto would wake up and proceed to the training ground to practice with Makai in his new Shurin form until his teammates showed up. Hinata would greet him with a kiss, and they would proceed with their team training. Their coordination improved in leaps and bounds, which pleased Naruto greatly. Naruto was also perfectly happy in his relationship with Hinata. The formerly shy genin had been replaced with a confident kunoichi with incredible strength. Naruto was pleasantly surprised by her wit and her personality quirks, all of which Naruto found adorable. He felt sure that he knew that he loved Hinata more than all his other precious people, and told her this frequently. Her beautiful pearl eyes would shine, and she would tackle him in a hug. Naruto's Sharingan also increased in power. He was able to keep it active all the time, and his speed at writing kanji greatly increased. He began to experiment with his father's Hiraition no Jutsu, frustrated at the fact that it required the use of an inscribed kanji. Naruto sought to find a way through which he could instantaneously use the jutsu to appear anywhere he wanted to just as quickly, though he had no results by the time the day of their departure arrived. The mission, Naruto thought as he shouldered his pack and left his home to meet his team outside the gates of Konoha. This mission will decide everything. Itachi stared at the team of ninja that assembled outside Konoha. He nodded once to himself when he confirmed it was Naruto and his squad, then disappeared before the Sharingan or the Byakugan could detect him. This mission will decide everything, Itachi thought as he flew through the trees to reunite with Kisame. Sasuke glanced back at Oto village, then reset his stare towards where he knew Konoha was. He sighed once, then began to leap through the air towards his target. This mission will decide everything, Sasuke muttered, trying to figure out why he sounded like a broken record. Whoosh! Kaboom! Zing! Thunk! Thum! BLAM! SSJ! Pow! SSSSSSH! Explosions of noise, shrapnel, and fire peppered Naruto like mortar shells as he raced through the forest. Something alerted his senses, and he held up his right hand, making a funny sign. Hinata, Lee, and Sakura perceived the motion and leapt into the trees, zigzagging through the branches as Kunai began to whistle through the air. Kyuso. Naruto yelled as he failed to dodge all of them, resulting in a flesh wound for his shoulder. Sakura leapt down and healed him, jumping away as another set of kunai whizzed by. Naruto jumped as well after another minute of running, dodging exploding tags eager to deny him his next breath. Naruto, Hinata, Sakura, and Lee ran along the forest path at a measured pace until the first trap went off. Naruto and Hinata barely yelled out a warning to Sakura and Lee before a massive explosion went off. Naruto immediately signaled evasive maneuvers, and since then they had dodged trap after trap, sustaining no injury that Sakura and Hinata couldn't take care of. Naruto wondered just who was trying to kill them so badly. He suspected it was simply Oto scouts who had decided they were straying too close to Orochimaru's lair. He was brought out of his musings by a cry from his girlfriend. He glanced sideways at her as she focused ahead with her Byakugan's superior range. He watched as, somehow, Hinata went paler. "Hinata-chan, what do you see?" Naruto yelled. "A tall man wearing white robes. He has no forehead protector visible. He is laughing. He sees me. He sees us. He has the Byakugan, I can see it clearly." Hinata called out. Naruto frowned. The Hyuga were Konoha ninja. It didn't add up that they would attack his entire team just to assassinate one Uzumaki. Then again, Kyubi spoke. "How many Konoha ninja do you know that would assassinate an entire clan?" Naruto was about to offer a scathing reply when he realized who Kyubi was referring to. Hyuga Kasari. The one and only. "I suggest you warn the others, kid, because if he survived this long it's not because he's been running away. He's been waiting for this moment for a long time, and now he's going to try and kill you." Naruto nodded to himself and relayed the Kyubi's revelations to his flying teammates. "If he thinks he has a chance of killing you, Naruto and I-san, he's got us to deal with too." Sakura growled as she caught an errant kunai. At that moment, the trap stopped coming and a wind blew through the clearing they had stopped in. It was perfectly circular, and now that Naruto noticed it was huge. "This," Lee began. "This is where you and I and Gaara fought Kimimaro, Naruto-kun." Naruto looked around, suddenly saddened. "You're right, Lee." Anything Naruto might have said afterwards was cut off as the man Hinata saw earlier jumped out of the forest to land before them. Tall and resplendent in clean white robes, he had the pale pupil-less eyes of the Hyuga. However, somehow they reflected a manic glint. "Ah, Uzumaki Naruto, I presume?" "Yes, yes, you do presume. Too much, I think," Naruto interrupted. "Hyuga Kasari team, you have exactly 1 minute to tell me why you have attacked my team and I. Then, I'm going to kill you for assassinating my clan, destroying my chance at having a family, and for driving my best friend into madness." Sakura stared at Naruto. "Best friend?" she thought. "Does this mean he thinks Sasuke can be saved?" Kasari laughed, confirming Naruto's worst fears. He was completely insane, matched only in his madness by Orochimaru. "Ha ha ha. Oh, Naruto, you are so cute. And just like your father. You silly child, I set those traps because it was fun to watch you struggle through them. Sad today, though, that you must die now. My quest to eliminate the most powerful clan in Konoha must be completed. It is a shame I am forced to kill one of my own blood, but it seems I have no choice. This time he was cut off by a foot, which was connected by a green spandex leg to Lee's body. The foot was caught by Kasari inches from connecting with his own face, and he laughed. Lee smiled. "Hyuga-san, it seems your minute is up. I would say goodbye, but I doubt I will miss you. Die." But before Lee could do anything else, he was flung back towards Naruto. Lee righted himself before he hit his friends, skidding to a halt in front of Naruto, who had a strange look. "Naruto-kun, what's dash? I will fight him. Alone. This is my battle. And it's not that I'm trying to protect you or anything," Naruto added, overriding Hinata's protest. "This is something that I need to do." Now, will the three of you activate the barrier you've been working on in secret? Hinata smiled and quickly kissed Naruto. Nothing escapes you, love. We'll take care of it. Ah, the little Sharingan user wants to fight me alone. Admirable, very admirable. Kasari said, looking up to the sky. Hurry up, I've waited far too long for this. Naruto smiled, and though Kasari had never known fear, he couldn't help but feel uneasy at the sheer demonic grin Naruto gave him. Yes, I have waited too long. Activate it now. Hinata, Sakura, and Lee, who had at this point spread out to form a triangle, slammed their hands into the ground, out of which erupted purple walls, forming a pyramid around the two combatants. Now, you cannot run, Kasari. Prepare to die, Naruto said lazily, forming his chakra into its demonic nature. However, he realized that he didn't feel his eyes change. Pulling Makai from its sheath, he reflected his image in it, pleased to see that his Sharingan was still blue. Naruto whipped the blade out, point facing Kasari. He flourished it briefly, stopping as he settled into the Shurin form. So come, murderer. Come try and murder me. Naruto cried as he suddenly leapt forward. Kasari was shocked at the sheer speed of the Uzumaki heir, and eyed the sword with more than just apprehension. He pulled forth two kunai and used both to parry Naruto's lightning-fast attack. Kasari realized that he needed to fight farther away as Makai sheared through the first kunai and cut deeply into the second. He let go of the kunai handles and tried to jump away, but Naruto simply yanked upwards on Makai, sending the broken kunai flying upwards. As he did so, he pivoted on his back foot, driving his other deep into Kasari's stomach. The force of the kick drove Kasari back a few feet, but Naruto noticed that the Hyuga had stolen some momentum from the blow at the last minute. You're good, boy, Kasari remarked, spitting out some blood. But not good enough. Come, put your toy away and face me in the ancient interclan tradition, taijutsu match, to the death. Naruto frowned for a minute. Any taijutsu? Any taijutsu at all? He asked mock innocently. Yes. Any. Now come on, boy, I want to taste your blood. Kasari growled in frustration. Naruto looked towards Lee's corner of the barrier and winked once. Then, as Kasari settled into the Juken stance of the Hyuga, Naruto did the same. Kasari's eyes widened. What is this? Has that brat girlfriend of yours been teaching you Juken? Naruto grinned mockingly. No, you fool, you are. Take a look at my eyes, pitiful man, and see why your Byakugan is no match for me. Kasari noticed once again how blue the boy's eyes were. The Sharingan. Kyoso. Kasari swore. He dashed towards Naruto, who waited patiently. For some reason, he recalled the fight between Niji and Hinata years ago during the Chunin exam. He nodded to himself as he saw Kasari prepare for a 1-2 open palm thrust aimed at his heart. In an impressive display of agility, Naruto slid one leg out to the side, ducking under the first strike and catching Kasari's hand as it stopped where Naruto just was. Naruto twisted it, eliciting a gasp from Kasari, then used it to pull himself forward. He had watched Kasari's entire strike, seeing how chakra was ejected in almost a reverse spike to maximize damage. Half! Went Naruto's palm on Kasari's shoulder, who was knocked back a step. He grimaced in pain, but grinned as Naruto resettled in the Shurin stance, but instead of a sword the right palm was brought back to the shoulder, left palm extended. Goodbye, Naruto. Kasari yelled triumphantly. Hak Hyaku Nijuhachi Sho. 8 trigrams 128 palms. Kasari practically closed the distance between him and Naruto in a millisecond and began striking Naruto's Tenketsu. To Kasari's absolute horror, Naruto blocked the first 8 hits, then leapt away, whipping through a sequence of 9 seals. Kasari leapt forward and continued the attack, confident that no ninjutsu could save him, and annoyed that the boy had broken their agreement. However, Naruto's arms were suddenly engulfed in red chakra, chakra so thick it was blinding to Kasari's Byakugan. He attacked anyway, but none of his remaining thrusts were able to penetrate Naruto's guard. His hands moved automatically to block every single one of Kasari's moves, guided by the demonic chakra which enveloped his arms, effortlessly defeating one of the Hyuga's most powerful techniques. As Kasari desperately threw the last 8 strikes, the last one was caught by a strand of chakra and held. He tried to pull his arm back, but the chakra was as steel. Fearfully, he looked into Naruto's Sharingan. Nothing. No emotion at all. Not even anger or joy, just emptiness. Playtime is over, Naruto droned, and for some reason that tone scared Kasari to the core of his soul. This is my absolute defense in the face of any taijutsu move, though I am unable to counterattack when it is active. Naruto blinked once, and the chakra went away, except for the one which held Kasari. Naruto brought his hands together in the ram seal, and before Kasari could react, tentacles of red chakra exploded out of Naruto and wrapped themselves around Kasari. He struggled, but it's useless. You cannot escape this chakra, surely you know this and recognize whose chakra it is. Kasari stopped squirming and gasped. Kyubi. You monster dash, but before he could finish, Naruto whipped Makai out of its sheath and drove it through Kasari's chest. His words rolled back into his throat, forever unuttered as blood took their place. He coughed once, and looked into Naruto's eyes once more, somewhat relieved by the hatred he saw in them. For a moment his veil of madness lifted, and he saw what he had done in a new light, and what he truly thought. Naruto, this, cough, doesn't atone for anything I've done, but, cough, I'm sorry. I see now the horror I have brought upon you. And I know now that nothing I could ever do will ever atone for that, but when I look into your eyes now, I see an infinite sadness behind your hate for me, a wound that has yet to heal. Please, for the sake of the world, do not let it fester. I will die now and I will pay for my crimes, rest assured, but Naruto, cough cough, I hope that one day you find peace in life. Naruto stared at Kasari, never breaking the older man's gaze until the Hyuga closed his eyes as a tremor ran through his body. Then he was still, and Naruto pulled Makai out, wiping it on the grass before returning it to his back. He stared at the man he had just killed, thinking about what he said. He was so enwrapped in his thoughts that he leaped 3 feet in the air when he felt a tap on his shoulder. When he realized that the barrier was down and Hinata was standing behind him, he landed and turned to face her. Wordlessly he buried his face in her hair. Hinata eeped at the sudden movement and instinctively wrapped Naruto in a hug, whispering in his ear. You were wonderful, Naruto-kun, Hinata muttered. She felt Naruto smile. He pulled away, wiping his eyes. Thanks, Hinata-chan, Naruto said weakly, suddenly exhausted. He nodded once to Lee, grinned apologetically at Sakura, and nodded once more to himself. Guys, if you could give me some space? Puzzled, they stepped away. Sakura was not satisfied. Naruto and Ai-san, just what are you ah? Sakura jumped back even further as Naruto, who had already formed the seals, used a weak version of the Gokakya no Jutsu to cremate Kasari's body. I wonder if he will find peace like Zabuza did, Naruto wondered aloud. Sakura caught Naruto's musings and smiled gently. I think he will, Naruto, I think he will. Naruto returned her grin, then impulsively leaned over and kissed Hinata on the cheek. Well, now that that little detour is over, how's about we keep on going, nay? We should be able to reach the Sound Village's borders by the end of tomorrow. Come on. Naruto yelled excitedly as he began to jog. With a helpless shrug at the seemingly infinite energy of Naruto, his team fell in behind him. Yes. Soon, I will be able to prove that my fire of youth can match Naruto-kun's. Lee shouted exuberantly, causing Sakura to laugh, which caused everyone to go into what is medically referred to as shock, or as Naruto would say, in a state of what the dash. Sakura was first and foremost among them all. That wasn't that funny, was it? Sakura thought. Oh well. Must be late. Two figures emerged from the forest into the clearing that the shinobi of Konoha just passed. The taller one walked over to the charred remains of Hyuga Kasari and sniffed experimentally. He grinned as though amused, and was joined by his shorter companion. Not bad, Kisame drawled. Not bad at all, though he held back tremendously. Kasari was no match for him. Obviously, Itachi replied dryly. Oh, laughed Kisame. Was that sarcasm? A change in tone? I can't even remember that last time that happened. Ha! Kisame laughed again, earning him a glare powerful enough to kill a small animal. Very amusing, you walking piece of sushi. Come nightfall we will take him. You remember your role? Itachi asked. Kisame nodded, and Itachi turned away as if noticing something. As he looked away he allowed himself a small smile. Soon he thought. Soon Naruto, Hinata, Sakura, and Lee were suffering from a curious ailment. It is one that has plagued shinobi for years, and remedies for the ailment only work when used sparingly. Their ailment was, Kyuso, I'm exhausted. Yelled Naruto to no one in particular. Hinata patted his arm consolingly, though she too was extremely fatigued. Sakura stifled a yawn, and not even Lee had anything to offer about the fire of youth and his stamina. It was a mistake to try and come so far today, Naruto reasoned. We'll have to set up camp here. Sakura and Lee set a perimeter for traps and set them up. Use these, he said as he fished around in his pack, withdrawing many tags. Set them so that they alternate red and white. One is an alarm seal, the other is a superpowered explosion seal, so make sure you set them up at least 20 meters from our sleeping bags, nay? Sakura stared at the tags in apprehension, while Lee simply shook his head muttering, blood limits, and pulled Sakura along to set the traps. Naruto watched them leave, then pulled out his sleeping bag from his pack. Glancing at a spot in the middle of their little clearing, he frowned for a minute, then grinned. Hinata immediately noticed that it became warmer, and the temperature was very pleasant. Naruto-kun, did you make some sort of heating seal? Hinata asked, puzzled. Yeah, isn't it awesome? There was a book of seals in my clan library, and some of them were really useful. Naruto exulted. Now we don't have to risk a campfire. Here dinner. He tossed his girlfriend a few strips of jerky and a bottle of water. The Nara clan has this amazing type of beef jerky made from venison. It's really tasty and has twice the nutrients. As he pulled his own meal out he felt a slender form press against his back and sigh contentedly. Grinning, he turned around to embrace Hinata, who opted to capture his lips instead. They stood like that for a few minutes until, Naruto, if you wanted some private time, all you had to do was ask. And why is it so warm? This is nice. Sakura stated matter-of-factly. Naruto smiled cheekily while Hinata blushed. Nay, Hinata-chan and I were setting up camp. She just took advantage of the situation, just we were trained, right? And the worm is from a seal I inscribed, so no campfire. Here's dinner. Sakura caught the jerky and took a few nibbles. She hummed as she chewed. Itachi and Kisame stood together on a tree limb 30 meters away from the Konoha shinobi, Itachi watching patiently while Kisame resisted the urge to give something a shave. Suddenly Itachi relaxed. To anyone but Kisame, it would have been undetectable, but to Kisame it was as if Itachi pulled out an exploding tag and lit it. It's time, then? Kisame asked hopefully. Itachi nodded. Move in quietly, they're exhausted, and we may be able to keep the element of surprise. Kisame scowled. Itachi, they're a bunch of 16-year-old Jounin Dash, and I was ANBU captain at 13. Do not underestimate them, Kisame, or you won't live to see the end of this, Itachi said, glaring. Kisame shrugged and leapt to the ground where he began to encroach the encampment. Itachi shook his head and followed suit. Then came the point where Kisame took a step and something white flashed to his left. He spared it a glance, then dismissed it. Itachi, however, watched as the churka flare dissipated, wondering what it was intended to do. Obviously an alarm, he thought, but this is Naruto-kun we're talking about here. As if on cue, Kisame was suddenly caught in an explosion 15 meters across. As he jumped away from the blast, 6 more erupted, and then a chain of them went off around the camp, forming a circle of fire behind them. Itachi cursed. Kisame, he began, then shook his head once more. No. They obviously are awake and know that we are here. We must proceed. You know our mission, do not kill any one of them. If we do, it could jeopardize our success. Kisame sighed. Why can't we, Itachi? What's the point? Itachi just smiled, and Kisame had to turn away to hide his unadulterated fear. As one they suddenly sprinted towards the camp, only to encounter a scene that was downright hilarious. Sakura and Hinata were still fast asleep, Lee was running around the camp trying to see where the intruders were, and Naruto was just waking up. Itachi paled. Well, I thought they were jounin'. Incapacitate them all. Kisame grinned. The fun part. He leapt towards the running Lee, bringing his sword around in a diagonal cut, when there was another explosion, this time in the middle of the camp. The flash blinded Kisame, and he jumped back unable to sense anything. Itachi frowned. Bunchins? He thought. Or an illusion. He brought his hands together. Kai! He said forcefully, and immediately the scene changed. The clearing was empty and devoid of all signs of inhabitants save for the 4 ninja standing before them. One pink-haired kunoichi, one green spandex-clad taijutsu specialist, a pale girl possessed of the Byakugan, and in the middle Itachi stared into the black-clad blonde's eyes, blood-red Sharingan meeting steel-blue Shirugan. 2 Shirugan widened. You. It's you. No wonder Sakura-chan's genjutsu was dispelled so easily. You're Uchiha Itachi. And the walking sushi. Sakura stifled a giggle. Despite the fact that they were confronted by 2 S-class missing nins, she couldn't help but laugh at her chosen brother's treatment of 2 of the most powerful ninja in the world. Well, she reasoned in her mind, Itachi is innocent. I wonder what Naruto wants us to do. Sakura and Lee, you 2 will take Kisame. Hinata and I will handle Itachi, Naruto stated confidently. His voice carried all around them, causing Itachi to wince. Kai, he shouted, and once more he felt a genjutsu dispel, though the scene didn't change. Naruto, for his Sharingan saw that it was him, grinned. And now you know just how powerful we are. That genjutsu was Sakura's idea. Everyone always goes on about, oh, a trap within a trap. So she thought, why not a genjutsu within a genjutsu? Itachi nodded. It is truly ingenious. The Haruno clan has always had a knack for genjutsu and precise churka control. Well done, Sakura. Sakura stuttered. Thanks. I think Naruto narrowed his silvery orbs. So why the small talk, Itachi-san? I can see quite clearly that the 2 ninja in front of me are the real deals, so why are you here? If you have any sort of decent intelligence, you know that the Kyubi can no longer be extracted. Itachi nodded. This is known to Akatsuki. However, he trailed off. He turned to face Kisame and tapped him on the shoulder. What? Kisame howled as he turned to face Itachi. Itachi's Sharingan met Kisame's eyes. The stare was held for 5 seconds, then Itachi caught Kisame as he slumped to the ground. Naruto's eyes widened. What did you do to him? The Manjikyu? Itachi nodded. I fed him sleeping pills for hours. He won't wake up for a few days, but when he does it will be with no side effects. He will also probably remember what I did. He may attack me, but I can handle him. He sagged for a moment. Dispelling those genjutsu took more out of me than I thought, Itachi mentioned. You still haven't explained why you're here. Are you gonna knock someone else out if I ask again? Naruto demanded, settling into a battle stance. I am here because I have a proposal, Uzumaki Naruto, so you can dispel your shadow clone army, Itachi said coldly. I do not like being threatened, Naruto paled, then reassumed his fox-like grin. Well played, Itachi-san. They're gone, now. What could you want, or need? Itachi smiled with relief, and though it was odd coming from the rock-hard face of the Sharingan wielder, it was oddly comforting. Since you have activated your Sharingan, you must have the box. Thus, you know of the conspiracy the Hyuga and the Uchiha entered into against the Uzumaki. This conspiracy was started by the Akatsuki leader in an effort to destroy Konoha's most powerful clans to remove their threat when the next war is instigated. Naruto's eyes widened. So that's what Akatsuki wants with the Bijou. They want the power to control a war. Why? Because that's all anyone in Akatsuki wants, power and control, Itachi spat out. You're a member of Akatsuki, Sakura pointed out. Unless you joined because of the pretext with which you approached your father about the conspiracy. Itachi nodded. You are smart. It is a good thing I was not forced to incapacitate you all, because I don't think I would have been able to without bloodshed. You got that right. Lee exclaimed, immediately shrinking as Naruto shot him a death glare. We all know the truth of what happened those years ago, Itachi. We were on our way to find Sasuke and try to make him see reason. Also, I think I can completely remove the curse seal from him, but that would paint a target on me as Orochimaru's next container, Naruto explained. I'm not sure how to proceed now that you're here though. Itachi nodded, contemplating all that he knew. Yes. Your awakening, so to speak, brings my action in this conspiracy to full circle. And so, Itachi looked pointedly at Kisame's slumbering form, then back at Naruto with the same piercing stare. Naruto matched Itachi's eyes, then started. What? No way, are you kidding? There's no way I'm just gonna kill him like that. Naruto yelled suddenly, causing Sakura and Hinata to cringe and Lee to settle halfway into a Guken stance. Itachi just glared harder. You will, because you must. Akatsuki must be destroyed, Naruto. Surely you know this? Naruto nodded furiously, then shook his head just as hard. Hinata feared for her love's brain. Of course I do, but that's not the point. Why can't we just wait for him to wake up, and then I'll beat him up, huh? Naruto protested, a pleading note entering his tone. It hit Hinata suddenly. He doesn't want to kill. Not in cold blood. Itachi sighed, having come to the same conclusion. Naruto, you have grown tremendously in the past few years, but you still have so much farther to go. Sometimes we have to do things we aren't proud of, and we simply have no choice but to do what is necessary and accept the consequences. This is one of those times. I could kill him myself, but it is better if you do it. Itachi's eyes narrowed. This won't be the last time you have to do something like this, Naruto. When you chose to keep your emotions as a shinobi, this was the price, and now it must be paid. Kill him now. He finished suddenly, Sharingan blazing. Naruto hung his head, but when he raised it his Sharingan blazed briefly, settling back into its usual silver glow. He choked. It's done. I used the Uzumaki seal of life on him, only to be used when there is no other course of action possible. It destroys his chakra circulatory system and makes revival impossible. You can check if you want, Itachi. It's not a near-death state. Itachi nodded. You did well, Naruto. Itachi shot the corpse of the Mist Nin with his black fire, nodding as the body disappeared without a trace. We'll make camp here then. Hinata? Yes, Itachi-san, she replied automatically, still slightly overwhelmed. Can you prepare some food from my pack? Kisame was the far better cook than I could burn a salad. Hinata giggled and went to retrieve Itachi's pack, following his pointed finger. Sakura and Lee, could you go set some new traps where I entered? I'm afraid Kisame and I set off all of Naruto's seals in that area. Shouldn't Naruto do that? He's got the Sharingan. Sakura exclaimed. He'll do a much better job. Itachi grinned. Nah, you two will do fine. Besides, I need to talk to Naruto for a moment. Surprisingly, it was Lee who nodded in understanding and dragged a still protesting Sakura into the woods. Itachi turned to Naruto once more. Naruto, do you think you can remove the curse seal from Sasuke and Aisan? Itachi blurted out rather uncharacteristically. Naruto, taken aback, nodded. Itachi grinned once more. Okay, here's how this is gonna work. Sakura leaned over one tree root to set a few wires in the way Shikamaru once taught her. Lee caught himself staring inside, returning his attention to the paper bombs he was setting. That looks good, Lee-san. I don't even think Naruto could avoid that pattern. Sakura exclaimed. Lee accepted the praise with a gracious nod. That is everything, Sakura-chan. Let us return to Camp Lee, Sakura stated hesitantly. Yes, Sakura-chan? Lee asked, trying to peer into Sakura's eyes. She shook herself. Never mind, it can wait. Besides, we need food, she finished. Lee watched her for a minute before following. Could it be? Could she be falling for no? I mustn't get my hopes up. Still Lee's thoughts were interrupted by a most exquisite smell. It wafted into his nose and made his mouth water. He stretched onto his toes and took a Herculean sniff, almost passing out from the sheer pleasure of the smell. Oi, fuzzy brows. Dinner is served. In style. Naruto shouted. Lee ran over to find Itachi and Naruto sitting next to each other around a real fire, bowls in hand. Sakura sat across from Itachi, looking caught between intimidation and hunger. Lee took a seat next to Itachi and Sakura. Hinata came over and handed Lee a bowl, cradling her own as she sat next to Naruto and leaned into him slightly. Naruto smiled and kissed the top of her head before turning to his stew. Lee sniffed the bowl experimentally, detected the same amazing aroma. It looked a simple beef broth, but when he brought his wooden spoon out from the stew, for that was what Hinata had concocted, bits of food which turned out to be beef and pepper. Do you like it, Lee-san? Hinata asked hopefully. Lee stared at her. Are you kidding? He asked incredulously. Hinata's face fell. This is incredible. It causes the fire of youth to rekindle within me stronger than ever. Lee was quieted immediately by the look on Itachi's face. Lee, if this stew wasn't so good you'd have it all over you. And there'd be a kunai hidden in it, he growled. Understand? Lee nodded. He remembered not to push their new ally too far in the future. Naruto stared around the campfire at his teammates and at his new friend, though the idea was still foreign to him. He remembered the plan Itachi outlined to him. Yada, he whispered, so quietly that not even Hinata heard. We're coming for you, Sasuke. Uchiha Sasuke stood calmly in the midst of a forest, looking out at the entrance to his sensei's lair, waiting. Advanced Sound scouts had warned him that a group of ninja were heading towards the compound. Their identities were unknown, however. The scouts had detected 2 massive chakra signatures and had fled before they were discovered. The ninja were less than half a day away. But Sasuke didn't need that information. He knew that Konoha would only send a few people out to Odo country, only a few were qualified. Dobe, he thought. They'll have sent the Dobe and that pathetic excuse for a Kunoichi Sakura. But who are the others? Sasuke shrugged. It didn't matter. They would all die. Naruto, Itachi, and the rest of the team regrouped in a clearing. Naruto brushed past Itachi on his way to Hinata. Did you send the message to Akatsuki? Naruto whispered. Itachi nodded. They will arrive at the compound soon after we do. They were greatly interested to hear the location of Orochimaru's lair. Naruto nodded in return, having nothing less to say. Hinata drew herself up straight as Naruto approached her by the edge of the clearing. He walked calmly towards her and right into her, enveloping her in a bear hug over her surprised eep. Hinata-chan, there's something I need to say, Naruto mumbled as he pulled away slightly so that their foreheads touched. Hinata looked into his Sharingan, losing herself in their cerulean depths. Naruto-kun, if this is about going on alone with Itachi-san, Naruto laughed softly. I wouldn't dream of leaving you three behind. I don't trust anyone more with my sorry butt. Hinata giggled sweetly, stopping as Naruto sobered. Hinata-chan, there's a good chance that you or I may not survive this battle. Don't tell Sakura or Lee, but I had Itachi contact Akatsuki. They're sending a pair to assist Itachi in the assassination of Orochimaru. While Orochi team is occupied with them, we will engage Sasuke. Hopefully we'll be able to get his attention away from Itachi, and I think I know just the way. Hinata stared at Naruto-kun, who looked as if he expected to be slapped. Instead, Hinata grabbed a fistful of blonde hair and pulled. Naruto found himself being dealt a kiss that would have scorched him to the ground had he not half expected such a reaction from the Hyuga of his dreams. He returned the kiss, deepening it, causing him to feel the heat of Hinata's blush. When Hinata pulled away, Naruto grumbled softly, causing Hinata to giggle again. Naruto-kun, I don't think anyone is going to die. We have you. Hinata said encouragingly. We trust you, Naruto-kun. I trust you. What needs to happen now is you need to trust you. Remember what I told you before the Chunin exams? That's not true. Hinata exclaimed, shocking herself with her initiative. Naruto was rocked back on his heels as his jaw dropped slightly. I think you are a proud man who makes mistakes. But you learn from them. I think this makes you truly strong. Hinata retreated behind a wooden post. At least that's what I think. Naruto did remember. He smiled suddenly, and Hinata almost fainted from the affection that came from it. Arigato, Hinata-chan. Let's go, Naruto murmured, taking her hand in his and leading her back to the camp. Sakura and Lee looked at them expectantly. Naruto grinned. Let's get wild. Follow my lead, box formation, Sakura and I leading. Lee and Sakura yelped, though Lee beat Sakura to voicing a coherent protest. Naruto-kun, usually I lead with you. Are you sure Sakura will be able to keep up? Lee wondered aloud. Sakura became very serious. Lee-kun, Sasuke is waiting up ahead. The apprentices of the legendary Sannin must meet in battle for the first and last time. You and Hinata must engage the Oto ninja that Orochimaru will most likely send to back Sasuke up. Itachi will most likely handle Orochimaru if he decides to make an appearance. Am I right, Naruto and I-san? Naruto nodded. As perceptive as ever. Sorry Lee, but this is something that Sakura and I need to settle with Sasuke alone. Hinata squeezed Naruto's hand in response. Naruto nodded to himself, then handed each of his teammates a strange seal. Here, place this on your clothing somewhere. If you need assistance during the fight, gather some chakra to your finger and tap it, help will come. Naruto looked strangely excited as they stuck the seals to their shoulders. Finally, let's see if I can truly surpass my father. Suddenly, Itachi stiffened as the ring on his hand glowed briefly, then faded. It's time, he shouted to Naruto and his team. Deidara and Sasori are close, we need to begin our assault. His hands blurred in the seals for which Sakura recognized as a powerful genjutsu and instead of Itachi Hatake Kakashi now stood before them. Naruto gave the thumbs up to his team and winked at Hinata. They all shared one last smile and leapt away after Itachi. Almost immediately they found themselves outside a small door built into a small hill, around which the trees did not grow. Naruto frowned at the emptiness, then his eyes widened. Down, he shouted, spinning around and drawing Makai at the same time. Itachi did not drop, but instead caught every single one of the kunai that was thrown at him. Naruto quickly assumed his sword stance and danced about, slicing at the kunai. When the flurry stopped, pieces of the daggers littered the ground at Naruto's feet, while Itachi held the kunai in each hand, ready to return them. Naruto smiled softly. "And so it begins," he muttered, motioning for Sakura to rise. "Come on out, Sasuke team. Let's see how the Uchiha brat has changed over the years." Naruto called out in the most sarcastic voice Sakura had ever heard. Then, she gasped. Sasuke suddenly stood before them, meeting Naruto's gaze eye to eye. He had grown, as evidence that he could look at Naruto levelly. His white gi was parted slightly, revealing a well-toned chest. His black pants extended to his ankles, a purple rope sash secured a sword to his waist. His black hair had been cut to the length it was before the Chunin exams, with a bit pulled up in the back like a half-assed ponytail. "Dobe Sakura Kakashi," he began, only to trail off. "This is certainly a surprise, whatever, Sasuke team." Naruto exploded. "I saw you watching us half a mile back. Don't try to act all superior again like you used to, because you're so much better than we are. You so full of it I'm not even gonna bother trying to beat it out of you this time." Sasuke gave no indication that he had even heard Naruto's rant. Instead he stared deeper into Naruto's silvery blue orbs. "Those eyes, those aren't his eyes, are they a Dojutsu?" "Those eyes are different since the last time I saw them, Dobe," Sasuke stated monotonously. "Where'd you get them?" Naruto grimaced. "It is called the Sharingan. Would you like me to warn you what it can do, or shall I demonstrate?" Sasuke returned Naruto's twisted smile with a smirk of his own. "No doubt whatever bloodline you've activated is a result of the Kyubi." At this, Naruto's team gasped, but Naruto showed no reaction at all. "But it cannot compare to the power of the Sharin Dash." "Oh yes it can," Naruto interrupted. "In fact, Sasuke team, you'd be surprised at what you would have learned had you stayed in Konoha. Did you know that there were once 3 noble clans of Konoha who defended the village? Did you know that the Uzumakis were the most powerful of those clans? Did you know that I'm the son of the Yondaime Hokage, Uzumaki Erasure?" For the first time in the taunting, Sasuke looked shocked. However, it was immediately buried under his stoic facade. "No, I didn't." "You being the son of the Hokage? That makes sense, with your hair. You having a Kekii Genkai? That also kind of makes sense." Then Sasuke smirked again. "But associated power and strength with your name? That doesn't make sense at all." Naruto grinned. "You still haven't answered my question, Dobe." Naruto said mockingly. "Would you like to see a demonstration?" Sasuke shrugged. "I suppose I'll get the chance eventually, so no." Then Sasuke seemed to remember something. "I thought your dream was to become Hokage, Dobe. If you have time to come chase me, shouldn't you be training?" Naruto looked down. "How can I become Hokage if I can't even rescue one friend?" He whispered, wondering if Sasuke had heard him. He had. He whipped through 4 seals, ending on Tiger. "Katan, Gokakya no Jutsu!" he yelled. Naruto's team braced themselves, but Sasuke wasn't aiming for them. He launched the fireball into the air, where it exploded in a pretty light show. Sasuke returned his attention to his old comrades. That was a single. "My guess is this is the part where Kakashi, the Hyuga, and the stupid green kid go fight Orochimaru in half a village, while the Dobe and the pink-haired pathetic excuse for a Kunoichi try to fight me." Naruto nodded, and Sasuke returned the nod. "Now we see which of the new Sannin are the strongest," the Uchiha remarked as he drew his katana. "This is my sword, Kusanagi." Naruto drew his own. "This is my blade, Makai. Are you ready to go to hell, Sasuke?" Naruto asked as he settled into his Shuren form. Sasuke laughed. If that's where I get stronger so that I may kill my brother, then so be it. Naruto laughed as he flipped his sword behind his back. The clang of metal on metal rang out, and a kunai flipped away from his back. Hinata-chan, Lee, Kakashi, you know what to do. They nodded, and leapt off, but not before Kakashi took one last look. Brother, he thought, before he leapt away to confront the Oto ninja, scanning the horde for any sign of Orochimaru. Without a thought, he pulled out a ninjato seemingly from nowhere and sheathed it in a chunin eager to bring down Copy Ninja Kakashi. He gurgled on his own blood, and fell away. Itachi grinned inwardly. Time to go to work, and boy, do I love my job. Meanwhile, Sakura watched as her former teammates went about their deadly dance of steel and death. It was as if too much enmity had passed between these two warriors, and now they felt no more than the rush of the battle they fought. Sasuke brought Kusanagi up horizontally to deflect a thrust from Naruto, who spun away and, in a move that would have left any other swordsman weeping on the ground in awe, spun his blade in figure eights until launching a flurry at Sasuke, who parried every blow calmly, taking one opportunity to stop the attack and counter, cold steel racing for Naruto's arm. The blow never connected, deflected by Makai. Sasuke nodded to Naruto. I'm actually pleasantly surprised, Naruto, though I have no idea how you acquired this strength in Konoha. Naruto glared. You have no idea what true strength is, team. Naruto growled. No idea at all. He looked at Sasuke, who disappeared. You abandoned us. You abandoned your friends because some snake in the grass promised you power. What about your comrades? Naruto finished. He had started out shouting, but his last question was screamed at Sasuke. Sasuke paused, then sheathed Kusanagi. There was nothing more that village could teach me. Come Naruto, even you and Sakura sought training from the legendary Sannin, why couldn't I? Naruto snorted. Don't feed me the crap you've been eating for the past few years. I'm beginning to wonder if you ever saw me as a friend. Sasuke wasn't fazed. Of course I did. That's why it is so important to me to cut those ties. Naruto laughed. Whatever, Sasuke team. But obviously we aren't going anywhere with this Kenjutsu thing. How about a little old-fashioned taijutsu? Sasuke nodded. Agreed, I grow tired of this dance. We are shinobi, killers. Let us kill Naruto Sakura if you can even keep up with the dope. Naruto thought for a minute, wondering why Sasuke had chosen those words in particular. Yes, it is true, I do not enjoy killing. Haku stated calmly. But I will kill my emotions and become a shinobi so that my master's dream may become a reality. Naruto was jolted from his dream by Sakura fitting her black combat gloves on. If I can keep up with Naruto and Isan, I'll have you outmatched. Sasuke's Sharingan narrowed, and Naruto chuckled. Come on team, if I remember you were good at one versus many taijutsu. Fighting two at once shouldn't be a problem. As one, Naruto and Sakura hurtled towards Sasuke, with Sakura falling slightly behind. Sasuke leapt forward as well. Naruto and Sasuke encountered each other with a soft PAMF, each catching the other's fist in one of their own. Naruto grinned. And now, the fun part. Naruto remarked offhandedly, as one might say, nice weather, or I just stabbed myself in the leg. Sasuke glared, then jumped backwards to avoid Sakura's boot, which crashed into the ground. She pulled it out and shook off the rocks, ready to attack again. Naruto nodded once, then twice, then once more. Sakura grinned. They took off once again, flanking Sasuke. Naruto led with a 1-2 punch followed by a feinting kick, and the battle was on. Hinata stood calmly as the Oto ninja surrounded her. One of them apparently recognized her. Hey look, it must be the weak little Hyuga heiress. This is easy pickings, boys. Attack. The ninja ran forward, intent on overrunning the girl. Hinata smiled softly, muttering her favorite technique under her breath. One of the sound shinobi specialized in espionage and heard what Hinata whispered. He stopped running to watch the spectacle. Hinata began to move. Spinning twice, she lanced the first Odo Nin in the chest twice. Without even checking if he was down for good, she spun left, dealing out a double slash to another ninja. One by one she methodically destroyed her opponents with stabs and slashes of razor-sharp chakra, always cutting near the heart thanks to the Byakugan. 3 seconds later, 7 Odo Chunin and Jounin lay dead around her. She assumed a simple Juken stance and beckoned the one who had held back forward. The Nin stared at her in awe, then shrugged his shoulders. I knew it would come to this when I joined up with Orochimaru-sama, he thought. A coward faces death many times before he dies, the valiant die but once. He charged the Hyuga. Half the Hyuga watched as the ninja who took a Juken death blow to the heart crashed to the ground, a strange look of peace on his face. Hinata nodded once in reverence to the fallen warrior, and ran off to join Lee amidst his cries of, "The fire of youth strikes you down." Itachi tore through his opponents quickly and methodically, sparing as little chakra as he could manage. Even with his vast experience and stamina, he would need all he could to defeat Orochimaru. Even though I could beat him, I'm not sure now. Doubtless he has been increasing his strength. He had even deactivated his Sharingan, to save any chakra he could. Sensing a chakra behind him, he thrust his ninjado behind him under his arm, impaling a ninja on its keen edge. Itachi grinned. I still got it, he thought triumphantly, though the feeling was dimmed somewhat as he sensed 2 powerful chakras heading towards the fray. Here they come, I'll be forced to drop this illusion soon. I hope Naruto will have neutralized Sasuke Otuto by then. Sasuke's breathing was normal, as was Naruto's, though Sakura was starting to show some signs of fatigue. Their taijutsu match was almost as even as Naruto and Sasuke's kenjutsu, with Naruto and Sakura holding a slight edge. Despite Sakura's strength, she could keep up with Sasuke's speed as well as Naruto could. However, working together had allowed them to land some hits on Sasuke, though it looked as though they hardly affected them. Sasuke was feeling the pressure. Sakura will tire out soon, but will I be strong enough when she goes down to face Naruto? His power is incredible. I've never felt such chakra before, not even from Orochimaru. He emerged from his planning to catch Sakura's foot. Not one to waste an opportunity, he slammed her into the ground and flung some kunai at critical points in her muscles. Sakura took the hits to her legs but was able to avoid the shots at her arms. Sasuke paid for spending too much time, as Naruto's foot collided with his head. Shocked by the blonde's speed and strength, Sasuke flew away, though he righted himself in midair and landed firmly on both feet, hand dragging to stop his motion. Naruto sent a worried glance to Sakura, who was healing her wounds. She grimaced as the last kunai wound was healed. "Here, let me patch you up," she offered to the fox-like shinobi. "That way you'll waste as little chakra as possible." Naruto sighed and offered his wounds to Sakura, who quickly healed them. "There, now you're in top form and I'm approaching chakra depletion. Knock some sense into him, Naruto." "Please don't kill him unless you have to," Sakura scolded, as sister to brother. Naruto sighed. "Fine, but only if he wants to live." He noticed out of the corner of his eye that Hinata and Lee had finished their part in the plan and waved them over. "Lee, stand guard over Sakura." Hinata, help Sakura heal her wounds." Naruto commanded, and watched as they complied. Naruto returned his attention to Sasuke, and Sharingan met Sharingan once more. "Are you ready, Sasuke?" Naruto asked. "No more holding back." Sasuke nodded. "I tire of playing with you, and I think that any techniques that you will use I'll have seen before. If I haven't, I don't think I'll be able to copy them. There's only one Kyubi." Naruto nodded. One last battle. Sakura was almost thrown backwards by the force of the chakras being gathered. Their chakra, it's huge. And Naruto, just how much have you been holding back? Sakura thought worriedly. Naruto's features began to change as his entire chakra system was natured to its demonic form. His whisker marks elongated, and he grew claws. Remarkably, his Sharingan was unaffected. Sasuke assumed the same form from the battle at the Valley of the End: dark skin, a black mark on his face, and two giant wings. That's it, Sasuke. That's the same crap from last time, Naruto exclaimed in a joking manner. Sasuke scowled. It's more than enough power to deal with you, Naruto. Naruto sighed. Hardly. And he formed the ram seal. Sasuke jumped back as 9 tails of chakra exploded from Naruto's body. They wrapped around the blonde's body for a second, then waved around his form menacingly. For the first time since his first encounter with Zabuza, Sasuke felt fear. Naruto grinned, and Sasuke laughed. You have no chance, dead last. Sasuke howled. I will kill you. Naruto grinned sadly. I think not. And he disappeared. Sasuke followed suit. Sakura could only stare as small explosions erupted wherever they clashed briefly. An Oto Jounin flew at Itachi. The Uchiha calmly ducked under the thrust of a kunai and kicked sharply at his latest opponent's kneecap. The Oto ninja howled as the bone shattered, and he went down. Itachi caught his head as it passed by and quickly snapped his neck. And Zabuza of the Seven Swordsmen bragged about being a silent killer. He knew nothing of assassination. Itachi thought smugly as he sheathed his ninjato in yet another ninja's neck. He returned to a ready stance, wondering why no ninja was attacking. Then he saw Orochimaru come forward, as if he had been in the crowd the whole time. Haha, hello Itachi-kun. Been feeling well? Are my subordinates annoying you? The Sannin said silkily. Itachi stared at the Sannin and frowned, forming the released seal and dispelling his jutsu. Hopefully Naruto would fulfill his part in the plan and keep his brother occupied while he dealt with Orochimaru. Itachi frowned. As a matter of fact, yes. You haven't been training them properly, Orochimaru-san. I haven't a single scratch on me. Orochimaru laughed. Perhaps you are correct. Perhaps my attentions have been too focused on that one, nay? And he pointed towards the general area where Sasuke and Naruto battled for. Truth be told, Orochimaru could barely keep up with their speed without focusing all his attention on the battle. Itachi watched as several large fireballs erupted from Sasuke's fleeting form, only to be blocked by Naruto's chakra tails. Said tails then peppered Sasuke with jabbing strikes, forcing him to retreat. They are impressive, Orochimaru, a voice drawled from behind Itachi. Without turning, he recognized it to be the Sannin's attendant, Kabuto. Sasuke-kun's training is paying off, though I must admit I'm putting my money on Naruto-kun right now. As he said this, Itachi sensed a kunai being drawn. Then he sensed something else, and slowly pulled the collar of his cloak up. Just in time, as he felt blood splatter against his now upturned collar. Itachi turned around to see Kabuto hanging limply from a blade held by a man. However, with his Sharingan, Itachi was able to see that it was the puppet Sasori had named Father. He watched as the chakra strings tensed and Kabuto fell to the ground. As he did so, Sasori poofed into existence to stand next to Itachi. Hello, Itachi-san. Sasori greeted, motioning upwards with his head. Itachi did not have to look to know that Deidara was flying about on one of his clay birds. However, Itachi was mildly surprised as Deidara's lithe form landed on the ground next to him. The blonde cursed and pulled several shuriken out of his arm. That hurt, Orochimaru. Your ninja will pay for that, humph. The young Akatsuki member drawled. Orochimaru laughed again. Ah, such a pleasant reunion. Though I must admit it is soured by the death of my attendant. He was a good medic nin. Do you know how hard it will be to replace him? And I thought you needed him, Sasori. Orochimaru said mockingly, knowing full well that Sasori had used a memory erasing just on Kabuto so he could have a spy inside Orochimaru's village. Sasori shook his head. Your wretched existence will end today, Orochimaru, though it pains me to destroy something so eternal. Deidara grinned. It doesn't pain me at all. See you in hell, Snake Man. Orochimaru was engulfed in a massive explosion. Similar blasts went off behind the Sannin. When the dust cleared, Orochimaru was gone and the bodies of his subordinates littered the battlefield. Itachi frowned. Sasori, if you could summon your other puppet mother, would greatly appreciate it. Itachi remarked offhandedly. Why would I do that, Itachi? Sasori replied, though he had already pulled out an ornate scroll. Itachi didn't reply, only jumped into the air as a huge snake erupted from the ground, jaw open wide. Deidara and Sasori leapt away likewise. The Sannin emerged from the dirt himself, chakra gathered and killer intent radiating from his person. He must be very confident if he is staying to fight with us, humph, Deidara remarked to his partner. Sasori nodded and summoned the human puppet known as Mother. He sent them towards the Sannin, who engaged them eagerly. The fight was on. And the fight was over for the time being. Sasuke panted heavily as the second level of the curse seal receded from his body. Damn you, Naruto, he yelled. Where the hell did you get such power? I can't see that demonic presence from last time, but you still have that red chakra. What the hell? Naruto glared at his old teammate. This power is mine. I've been paying for it since I was old enough to walk. I said I was sorry for all those years, brat. I don't even protest you using my power anymore, look. And now it is mine to command. I am strong, Sasuke. We've been over this before. You lost your family, I never had one, yada yada yada. Grow the hell up. Naruto screamed. Yeah, we've suffered, get over yourself. There are people who've suffered even more than we have and you think they have the power we do? No. We're lucky, you bastard, and I'm sick and tired of your arrogant I am the last Uchiha and the world owes me a favor attitude. Naruto finished, noticing that a demonic edge had crept into his voice. Filing it away and making a mental note to ask the fox about it later, Naruto concentrated for a moment. You don't know what it is to be strong, Sasuke team, Naruto said, the demonic taint to his voice gone. You have no idea at all. You rejected true strength when you left Konoha. Sasuke reeled. The hell I did. I need power. I have to kill my brother. I must avenge my clan. My parents, he yelled back. Naruto smiled sadly, remembering once again Haku's words. Do you have someone precious to you? The girl asked quietly. Naruto thought for a minute, thinking of Sakura, Kakashi, even Sasuke, and Iruka-sensei. Yeah, I do. I'll protect them with my life, the blonde fox-like boy shouted triumphantly. The girl smiled. Then you will become truly strong. As the girl left, she tossed over her shoulder, oh, and by the way, I'm a boy. Naruto fell over in shock. Sasuke, you've perverted what it means to be strong. Naruto stated calmly, chakra tails flailing about. You're fighting for people who have passed from this world. You need to let them go and realize what you have in this world before it passes, just like your clan would have done so, even without their massacre. You know, my clan was killed off too. Naruto said as if this explained everything. Sasuke laughed. Yet another thing that we share. The Uzumakis were clan, then? Despite the fact that Sasuke seemed to be thinking rationally, Naruto refused to get his hopes up yet. He nodded. Yeah, they were the most powerful clan in Konoha. Don't listen to what the Hyuga claim or what the Uchiha say. The Uzumaki were number one. Then Naruto did a complete turnaround. That's why the Uchiha and the Hyuga conspired to kill them all. Sasuke's Sharingan widened. No, he whispered. A little voice in his head told him the demon container was lying. Sasuke went with the little voice. Liar! He yelled and hurled himself at Naruto. Hinata yelped, but Naruto just sighed and, with a flick of his wrist, planted a chakra seal on Sasuke's forehead. The Uchiha froze in mid-step and almost fell over if Naruto didn't set his legs properly. It would have been comical to Naruto if killer intent wasn't rolling of Sasuke in waves. Hold still, almighty and prodigal Uchiha. I'd like to take a look at your cursed seal with these eyes of mine. Oh, and by the way, I've been toying with you. My Sharingan's abilities overlap with your Sharingan and the Hyuga's Byakugan, as both are mutations of the Uzumaki bloodline. My specialty, however, lies in kanji seals. So hold still, not that you have a choice. Sasuke struggled against the hold seal Naruto had slapped on him. Damn him, he's going to take the source of my power. No, I'm not. The power you have has been in you your entire life. I'm just going to remove what has perverted it. Naruto said calmly. Sasuke's eyes widened, remembering that his old sensei Kakashi had pulled the same mind-reading trick on Zabuza years ago. Naruto focused on the cursed seal and analyzed it. Damn, Orochimaru may have been a lying, cheating, evil S.O.B. of the first order, but the old Sannin came by his reputation honestly. The seal permeated Sasuke's chakra system on every level, and was tied to his well-being. I can't simply remove the chakra from the seal, it'll kill him. That's a bad thing? Kyubi chimed in. Yeah, I don't really want to kill him yet. He has to learn the truth first. Then, I decide whether to kill him or not. Naruto thought back. Hey, that's my kit. Ignoring the fox's last comment, Naruto began to unravel the ties Orochimaru's seal had on Sasuke. Itachi, Deidara, and Sasori were literally removing Orochimaru's ties to Sasuke. The snake Sannin was losing. Badly. At the rate he was losing, Itachi figured they would kill him in the next few attacks. What unnerved the usually unnervable Uchiha was that Orochimaru wouldn't stop smiling, as if the Sannin still had one last completely unbeatable trump card. Suddenly, Deidara screamed as his shoulder began spewing blood all over his severed right arm, which was lying on the ground. A loud tunneling sound alerted Itachi and Sasori to a large hole in the ground, out of which dirt flew. Kyuso. No matter how much pain training you go through, nothing prepares you for dash, but his last swords rolled back into his throat unuttered as he was swallowed whole by an extremely large white snake which burst from the ground. Instead of scales, the large snake posseed skin consisting of smaller snakes coiled around its body. Impressive, nay? I made it myself, my new body for my new rebirth. I no longer wanted Sasuke-kun's delicious body as my own, I just wanted to see how many Akatsuki he could rid me of. But I see that as the old adage goes, if you want something done, do it yourself. The snake thing cackled delightedly. A small thump was heard as the Orochimaru's newly revealed form bulged slightly in the middle. Ah, I do prefer my Akatsuki well done. Thus ends the fleeting Deidara, a fitting end, if you ask me. Orochimaru said as a large tongue darted out and licked his chops. There are so many things I could say right now, but I'm not going to waste my time, Sasori growled. However, you've angered me. Now I need a new partner. He flicked his wrists and waggled his fingers, and his two puppets launched themselves at Orochimaru, one for the head, one for its midsection. The oversized snake caught father in its jaws and shredded it to bits, but mother made it to the body and drew forth a large needle slathered in poison. Before it could pierce the snake, however, several of the tinier snakes unraveled from the body and constricted the puppet, trapping it as Orochimaru crushed it with his tail. Pointless. Goodbye, Sasori. And with that, Orochimaru's snakes coiled around the dropped poison needle and, before Sasori could so much as replace himself with one of his puppets or dodge out of the way, Orochimaru had impaled him upon his own spear. Puppeteers were always poor ninja up close. Orochimaru hissed, tasting the air for any scent of his last opponent. He hissed louder and in pain when several kunai pierced his outer skin through his snakes. He twisted around to Itachi leaping away. Naruto wiped the sweat from his brow and stepped back, waving his hand over Sasuke's forehead. Sasuke stumbled as control over his limbs was returned to him, and he scowled. "So you've removed the curse seal." "I didn't think that was possible," Sasuke said in his usual monotone. "So what now?" "I'll admit, I should be dead." "What is it you want?" Naruto smiled. "For you to read this piece of paper. If, when you're done, you still want to continue on this path of yours, I will kill you. If you decide otherwise, well, just read the note." Sasuke took the proffered envelope from Naruto and examined it for traps, though in his heart he knew there wouldn't be any. He noticed that Sakura had come to stand next to Naruto and was watching him expectantly, as was Lee. He briefly wondered where Hinata was until he felt her form press into his back. Pondering whether this was the time for such intimacy, Naruto nevertheless twisted his head to kiss the side of Hinata's, for which he received a warm nuzzle. Sasuke eyed them cautiously before taking out the two slips of paper, the letter from the yondaime to Naruto, and the mission report filed by Uchiha Itachi. Sasuke read the letter first, and as Naruto watched his eyes got wider and wider. When he finished, he looked up at Naruto and stared. "I had no idea no one ever and the way you were treated." "How?" Sasuke spluttered in a very Hinata-ish manner. Naruto motioned for him to continue reading, and he did so. When Sasuke finished reading the mission report from those years ago, his face had assumed a calm countenance. "The Sandaime is dead. I don't suppose I can confirm this with him?" Sasuke asked softly, and Naruto shook his head. "Not unless we use Orochimaru's undead summoning jutsu. I understand this is a lot to handle right now, so all that I'll ask is this: will you return to Konoha with us? You can ask the Hyuga elders if they have anything to say about it." Naruto offered. "I've been meaning to have a word with them myself, but I wanted to wait and see if you could back me up." "Why?" Sasuke asked. "Why would you wait for me, a traitor and one who caused you personal pain?" "Because you failed, Sasuke," Naruto stated, a grin forming on his face. "You tried to break the bonds you had to Konoha years ago, but you failed miserably. Here we are." Sasuke sighed, a small smile forming. "I haven't smiled in a while," he thought sadly. "I almost don't remember how." Sasuke looked Naruto in the eye. "There's still something I'm missing. If my brother is innocent, where the hell is he?" Naruto pointed to where Itachi was dodging the large white snake that was now Orochimaru. "He's over there, but frankly he's in no mood to talk." "It's not you, hell, it's not even him. It's that stupid snake Orochi team." "Shall I?" And Naruto pointed to his Sharingan. "Naruto, what are you planning?" Hinata said, stepping away from his warmth. Naruto chuckled. "Planned, Hinata-chan. I told Itachi that if I succeeded in getting Sasuke to agree to return to Konoha with me, I would be safe in using a very powerful, very dangerous seal. Sasuke, do I have your word that you will at least return to Konoha with us to question the Hyuga?" Sasuke nodded. "I will," Naruto nodded. "Stand back everyone, this is gonna get ugly." "Sasuke, I need all my chakra for this one. Send a Katan Jutsu towards Orochimaru. It's the signal I preset with Itachi." Sasuke nodded and gathered the chakra. "It feels weird but strangely liberating without that seal, as if a weight has been lifted from my chakra system." He finished with Tiger and launched a simple fireball at the giant snake. It exploded harmlessly on its side, but Itachi saw the flames and used the Shunshin Jutsu, poofing away in a burst of smoke. A few seconds later he poofed back into existence next to Naruto. He glanced at Sasuke before averting his eyes, though not before Sasuke caught the shame that appeared on his brother's face. So different from last time, Sasuke thought, remembering when he had chased Naruto to a border village to warn him that Itachi was after him. Naruto focused, and suddenly a very large seal appeared on Orochimaru's head. Before the large snake could react, a loud whooshing sound was heard, as if a vacuum was being created. Before anyone could yell or react in any way, Orochimaru's chakra exploded. To Naruto, Sasuke, Itachi, and Hinata, it was as if a small nuclear weapon made out of chakra exploded. To Sakura and Lee, they could only sense and feel the chakra as it imploded in on itself and passed through them harmlessly as a result of the kanji. Naruto grinned and extended the victory sign. Then he slowly fell backwards, his descent halted by Hinata as she caught him and pulled him close. Itachi frowned. That was interesting. I see now why he needed to be sure that there were no more enemies. Come on, let's get back to camp. And he turned and led the Konoha shinobi away from the battlefield, strewn with two tattered black cloaks, dozens of sound ninja, and one large snake carcass.